What's going on, y'all? About to bring a tear to my eye, man. We made it, bro. We made it. We're about a month away from week one, so we're doing good. We're doing good. But we have Big 12 media days today, Big 10 media days in a couple weeks, and you have SEC media days to follow up right after that. But the team that'll be leading all headlines at Big 10 media days will be the USC Trojans and Lincoln Riley. What are you gonna do this year? It's year five. You've been telling us enough. Hey, our team looks good this year. Our team looks good. It's a championship window this year. So we're definitely gonna be answering a lot of questions about what the defense is gonna be looking like, special teams. So we'll get into all that. But definitely, if you're a fan of your respective program, looking for what your head coach has to say, you have new head coaches like Bob McChesney and UCLA. They're looking pretty good and recruiting wise across town. So we'll see how he does with Jay Mayava this year. And you have Michigan State. Just to get this off my head, I don't really like how the Northwest, the old, I forgot what his name was. I think his name was Pat or something like that. But the situation at Northwestern, I don't really like how we had no really final answers from that situation. And then he gets a new head coaching job at Michigan State. If you guys know about that situation that happened this past offseason, but the allegations that were coming out from Northwestern, it was very serious and sus. So, yeah, for him to get a new head coaching job so quick, that was just kind of a shocker to me. And then you have Northwestern also with Rick Neuheisel's son, and then you have Chip Kelly over there too. So definitely, you have to watch out for Northwestern a little bit. And then you have situations like the Damon Williams debacle in Washington. We'll get into that a little bit because a lot of pundits out there are saying this is a sleeper team that will knock USC out of the playoffs. Me personally, I don't think they're strong enough to do that. One quarterback, he's going to have to have a really hell of a day to beat us because I feel like we're going to be rocking. They're going to be hearing the online chatter and what people are going to be saying about Washington. And so I feel like USC and Lincoln Riley has to prepare for that game in every game. It's just not that game. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just making it that game, but and then you have Ohio State. Will they make another championship run with Ryan Day and their returning quarterback Julian Sayin and looking like the number one pick of next year's draft, Jeremiah Smith? So they do lose a lot of pieces to the draft next year. And I don't know if you guys seen it or this boy, this young man, he had a little debacle with Tennessee. He said, "Hey, my family wants me to go here. I want to go to Ohio State," and how they use me. I thought he was going to go to Tennessee because the quarterback situation there, he could have helped him out, but he didn't want to go. Legend Bay, man. I don't know if you guys seen his highlight tape, but that guy he scares me. Coming into I feel like he's a 10 touchdown, 11 touchdown a season type of guy. So, but we have guys on we have the number one recruiting class, so we can do that too. USC fans don't just hate on me right now, but yeah, big expectations for Lincoln Riley and Jaden Mayava, my boy. He was looking like the dark horse Heisman. I had him as a dark horse Heisman coming into last year, and then games like he did good in the Illinois game, lost that game late, and then the Oregon and the Notre Dame game, he could have really used Waymon Jordan in those games because I don't want to fault King Miller or nothing like that, but he's a kind of scrawny back like a Raheem Mostert. And those teams are going to play physical ball, so you definitely need a physical running back in those games. So Waymon Jordan, Lincoln Riley has to answer questions about him coming into Big Ten media days because it's looking like coming up into the season he's going to be hurt. So definitely want to see where his progress is at and where we're coming to. But let's get into the schedule real quick, y'all. So this schedule coming up, we should win our first three games. We have San Jose State, Fresno State, and Louisiana. Then you travel to Rutgers. Um, Definitely with Lincoln Riley this year at Big Ten, if he's not provoked by saying, "Hey, like, how are you going to travel? Is the travel going to affect you?" Don't say like, "Yeah, like, oh, dang, we have to travel all the way to New York this year," and oh my gosh, don't say none of that. Just say we're going to play football and just leave it. Give short and sweet answers. I don't want to change how Lincoln Riley is as a person. If if he's speaking from the heart last year when he said like when he was just like, oh, we have to travel here and we have to travel like just the hustle, he was talking about the hassle it took for him to say those answers. I don't really like that coming out of my head coach. So we'll definitely be watching how he's going to answer these questions about travel. And so yeah, we travel to Rutgers. We should be 4-0 going into that game, and then we have Oregon at home. Everybody's going to be watching that game, prime time game. To be determined. Hopefully, we'll be ranked at coming into that. We'll probably be ranked coming into the season too. So definitely there'll be a ranked on ranked matchup. I don't know if College Game Day will be there, but that's the game everybody's watching for. Is put up or shut up time for Lincoln Riley in that game. So Dante Moore and those boys. Hopefully, we can get it done. We have a young, young core. Our big pieces this year is our D line and our offensive line. Our offensive line, we have a lot of returning starters, and we have some freshman class that's really looking good. College A, so we're definitely gonna have to beef up, and it's gonna be have to run and pound that game, and hopefully Waymon Jordan's there at that game because King Miller, he didn't really have a decent game when we traveled to Oregon last year. Hopefully he can have a bounce back game when we go against them this year because I'm gonna be live streaming that game when it comes on. Hopefully y'all tuning in when I do that. But yeah, I'm gonna be live streaming all the USC games probably. But we go to Washington after that, and that's the game, y'all. See, I want to talk about Damon Williams a little bit. Um, what is this? But no, okay, Washington and the whole debacle with Damon Williams this offseason. So if you guys don't know, Lane Kiffin was on the phone. He was like, "Hey, I really don't like Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt was kind of hurt. Damon Williams come over. I really need you instead. You were really good. Watch your tape. I need you instead of Sam. He really needed Cam Scatterbo for him to really be good. We'll just leave that out there. But Damon Williams is like, okay, cool. I'll go over to LSU. But the whole situation, it's the timing and place of everything. Damon Williams, he calls up, what's his name, Jeff Fish. While Jeff Fish, the AD, and the Big Ten commissioner are at a funeral for a soccer player from Washington, Mia, I forgot her last name, but RIP to her. And Damon Williams decided to call him up at the funeral and say, "Hey, coach, I want to transfer right now." Okay, what? While I'm at the funeral, dog? Are you? That got me bent out of shape when I heard that. I was just like, "Are you serious?" I read that and I was like, "Whoa!" But yeah, but yeah, Damon in that whole situation. So hopefully the team. I don't think the team can bounce back from that situation. When you read into what happened in that situation, it's like, ew, that's really iffy. And he had apologized to the soccer team, but the soccer team, it's not coming from the heart. You had to do that because his agents and the agents around the country was like, you just signed a new deal with Washington. So how are you just gonna bounce and do that? It's not a good look for the NIL era and players around the country. So you have to stay with Washington. He was on the phone crying to Jeff Fish saying, "Hey, like I really don't want to, do this, but it's the best decision for me or whatnot." It wasn't. So I don't. It's going to be really hard for that team to buy in for that quarterback. So that's why I say that dude's going to have like a 400-yard game. I don't think their roster is better than us as well. We have a better defensive line, better offensive line. Our receivers are young, but I think they are better. Tanu Hines and Booby Feaster, a lot of the dude from Modern Day as well, 4-star. We stole him from Ohio State. So I don't think they are going to do anything to us this year. But Penn State also too, that is a sleeper game. We travel to Penn State and at Wisconsin. Camp Randall. What are we doing? What are we doing at Camp Randall, y'all? Okay. So Penn State definitely with Iowa State's former head coach, Josh Pate was advocating for Penn State to hire this guy who was late in the offseason when they hired him. I don't think he's going to do everything with how they fired James Franklin. I thought they should have gave James Franklin another year. With Drew Aller did throw the pick in this national semifinal game. I didn't think it was James Franklin's fault. They were really close against Notre Dame. I think, you know, college football is about seniority. If he comes back, you're not gonna put the other guy in that they like better that he's at Virginia Tech now. So they were going to play seniority with Drew Aller. Like he was going to start the next season. The next season goes how it goes. I think you just give James Franklin another year, saying, "Hey, like this is like if we get another quarterback in there, maybe we can do something different." But I get it. His time, he ran his course, but maybe you fire him at the end of the season. I don't know. I think how Penn State fans reacted to James Franklin, like I don't know. I just think it's kind of crazy how they did that. So I'm wishing all bad things for Penn State coming up. I think we're gonna beat them at Penn State, and then Wisconsin's a sleeper, man. At Wisconsin, Lincoln Riley, you have to be up for that game, man. So hopefully coming into that game, like we're ready. And then you have Ohio State. Ohio State, that's the game. That's Halloween, man. I mean, we're gonna be home for that game, so they're gonna be bringing their best. We're gonna be bringing our best for that game. So we'll see what happens. And then you have at Indiana. You know, I was looking at this schedule earlier and just seeing it. You know, they don't have any like nobody's ranked. Just looking at the schedule, and I was like, okay, just like Indiana, like this is gonna be an easy game, but no, you have to remember, like they won a national championship last year, y'all. Like that's so crazy. Like when I think about it, like just looking at Indiana, like dang, like Kirk Cinetti and Indiana, like they got a natty, man. Like that's kind of crazy. And then you got Maryland with Malik Washington. Definitely looking to see what Mike Locksley is gonna say at Big Ten Media Days and what they have going on with their sophomore quarterback now. He showed some really good flashes, and he put some people like they were in some games last year at, like till the end of like the fourth quarter, you know. So hopefully they can finish out some games. Mike Locksley keeps his job at the end of the year. They bring in a 5-star recruit from their state, so we'll be seeing what they do. But then you have UCLA, Bob Chesney. I think we'll beat them this year, but coming into these next years, they're really doing good in recruiting, man. So it'll definitely be some tough tasks for Lincoln Riley if he keeps his job this year. You know, this isn't a guaranteed 11-2 just because I'm a USC fan. This isn't a guaranteed. That's not guaranteed in this schedule. So that's my expectations for Lincoln Riley this year. Hopefully he can get to that, but if it falls short, Jen Cohen, I already think I know. I think you know who your next head coach is, and we won't speak about it. Well, we will speak about it, honestly. I don't really care. But yeah, so the potential losses, like I said before, Oregon, I mean, at Rutgers, if you lose to at Rutgers, the season is off to a rough start. A rough start. And then you got to, Oregon's a potential loss. Washington, I think we can beat them regardless. Penn State, beat them regardless. Wisconsin, that's a sleeper. Seeing how they bring back their head coach, and that will be a game. They'll be looking to show the world like what this team is made of. So Lincoln Riley has to be ready for that. And then Ohio State, I think we can beat Ohio State at home. But definitely in our two losses, I really feel like probably Oregon, Indiana, and that's it. Honestly, to be honest with you, I don't really like how we could lose to Oregon. Like that's a potential loss. Dante Moore. Everybody's saying this is a national championship year, but I'm hoping for my for our sake, they have a year like Penn State and Clemson, like how they did last year. Oh, there's going to be a national championship team because they're just bringing back starters, and that's what all the pundits were saying last year. So hopefully we can get the win there at home against them. Hopefully Dante has a bad year this year, but yeah, the defense this year, y'all, we bringing we're bringing back or not bringing back D'Anton Lynn. I saw what JD Pickles said about D'Anton Lynn. He was like he was building something with the defense and he was gelling with the players. He's a players coach. I'm like, I really don't give a crap about what he was gelling with the players. It was looking awful on the field last year. A lot of space and gaps last year, and we do get a new linebackers coach from Nebraska. He is also our special teams coach, and that's how we lost this game right here, the Oregon Ducks game. Y'all know what happened in the Oregon Ducks game. Or if you guys don't know, I think his name's Damon Stevens, and he jumped over. We were down in that game about like a score, and he jumped over the kicker, and that got us a penalty. It got Oregon like 15 yards. They end up going down the field and scoring on us, and that pretty much ended the game right there. And so definitely when we hired Nebraska's new guy Mike Eckler, hopefully he can get our boys gelled up in special teams and the linebacker room. And it's definitely sad to see probably Rob Ryan go, because Rob Ryan was giving some cool press conference things. He was saying some crazy things in the press conference, but now that he's gone, he wasn't getting our linebacker room really that good either. They're out of space, out of placements in some areas. So definitely looking what Mike Eckler definitely seeing what Mike Eckler can do with this defense, and Gary Patterson with the 4-2-5 format. That's one of the questions Lincoln Riley's going to have to answer at Big Ten. How is the defense looking? How is his defensive line looking? The secondary was a big problem last year. So how are we gelling? Because last year it was like, hey, our defense is looking good, and that's what he says every year. So definitely have to see results. Yeah, like Big Ten media days, man. I have to see it on the field. I'm sorry, Lincoln. Like you can say all the right things, but I will definitely be watching though. But definitely want to see it on the field first, for sure. Because Georgia Southern last year, y'all, what they put up like 20 points on us, and then you have Michigan State where we're still in the game with Aiden Childs. I know he's from the land, but we shouldn't be in the game with Michigan State at the fourth quarter when we had expectations last year for championship run and whatnot. But Notre Dame, that game got us out of the playoffs, so hopefully he'll probably be answering some questions about when will that rivalry come back, because I see a lot of USC fans out there and they're saying this is the perfect schedule. I don't think so. In my view, if you don't have your biggest rival on there, it's not. It's like Alabama, Auburn. Are you kidding me? That's not canceling anytime soon. I don't want to hear it, USC fans. Like, don't talk to me about that bullcrap. How this and that. Like Lincoln Riley did bad. You did bad, buddy. But he'll be answering some questions about when that rival will be coming back up. So we'll see what happens with all of that. But definitely with offense too. I know I was really high on the offense last year. I was like, nobody could touch Lincoln Riley, with this offense. Like, put anybody against Lincoln. That's how I feel. And he's going to do what he do. It's just the defense, he hasn't figured that out. But it's the physicality, how he's definitely going to be answering questions about how he's going to match physicality with other teams this year, and how the team's looking like in practices. Are we tackling? Are we hitting hard? What was practices looking like? So we'll see how he answers questions about defense, or not the defense, the offense, and the young receiving core and the recruiting class we have this year. But that's pretty much all we got today, y'all. Big Ten Media Days in a couple weeks. Hopefully, we can get to the playoffs this year, because without the playoffs, I know I didn't mention. Okay, one more thing. Jen Cohen. There's a guy out there on his little podcast, with Mark Ingram and this other guy that works for Fox. And I think he throws little subliminals every time he talks about USC. Oh, what's they're doing over there? Lincoln Riley, he has an expectation. He's not really meeting there. And he always talks about how USC's this big program and how they're the blue blood. Always talks about the history of USC. I love when Urban Meyer does that. Yeah, that'll be our next head coach of USC if Lincoln Riley doesn't pull through. I think Jen Cohen knows it too. But if you tuned in for the first time, I thank you so much. Go ahead and do all the YouTubers say. I'm not gonna say it. We out here.